Perfect. Yeah, I'm just going to take it up. Right. All right. So I hope everybody can see the screen. All right, all good. So I'm just gonna give you a quick intro on Zoho Inventory. So it's gonna be a small presentation here, but then we'll not be looking into the presentation much. After the presentation, we'll get into the product and just show you right away like what are the capabilities of Zoho Inventory, just to make sure that we can dive deep and understand everything. So, well, so some of the main challenges while scaling up a business on an honest perspective are, the multiple dealers and distributors through which whom they sell it, or the multi-brand outlets, exclusive stores, sales on online marketplaces, online websites, and so this has been a tedious process, especially when it comes to stock management, right? Or even order management. So this is where we can come in. Here we have, let's say, around 5 different stores or storefronts, which would deal with multiple SKUs, right? So every item in your Zoho inventory can have a counterpart on these individual stores, and their SKUs would be different. So to map them together, it's actually the job of a system to make sure they control those SKUs and stocks. So you can manually do that, but you should say you should use an Excel sheet and sit there and have a person look into it all the time, which is going to be difficult. So that's where Zoho Inventory can help you. It can manage all these different SKUs in these different all these different marketplaces or storefronts, and have them connected to one simple SKU inside Zoho Inventory. So then multi-warehouses, so multiple warehouses. So we have many customers or prospective clients who ask for this multiple warehouse feature, where they want to control the stock between the different shopping carts or online sales channels, or even they're at their physical warehouses, just to keep that stock away. While some of them want to have a control on the rebate stock, just to show that I have only 5 or 10 left in the inventory, so which should push their sales. I mean, most of them really do that. So such sort of requirements can be easily solved with this functionality. So the stocks that comes into your system can be split across multiple warehouses. It can be split across into these different sales channels, control their stock, and even you can manage your Amazon warehouse or something. So if you have an FBA warehouse, and if you do sell, if you do fulfill your products from your fulfilled by merchant warehouse as well, that's inside your company, this can be both done separately with the new FBA integration as well. So this helps you manage stocks from each and every warehouse, or even in a different location like Amazon FBA warehouse, all made available inside your system, while everything gets, runs that control by itself. Then the taxes, yes, sales taxes are populated right away from your online store, or be it your offline sales, or be it your Amazon FBA. Everything is being recorded on time, and it's synced right away into the system. So even when you create an invoice and push it across into, say, Zoho Books when you're integrated, it'll actually push all those taxes over there, and you're good to go for accounting. So how Zoho Inventory works, basically a quick overview on a normal business scenario. So most of the every organization will have a front office where they take a sales order from the customer. So salesperson can be on the go, or they can give a call to the front office and take the orders. And so the customer gives the order, the sales order is taken in the front office. He still suddenly checks for the warehouse to see whether stock is there, because the stock is available right there in front of a screen. So as soon as the warehouse is checked, if you have the stock, you fulfill it directly from that warehouse, or else if you don't have the stock, you go to the second warehouse, you'll ask them to fulfill it and assign it to a second warehouse. If this doesn't happen, all you got to do is just send in a purchase order to the vendor that comes back to your warehouse. So basically, you create a back order. So this comes back to your warehouse. I mean, the stock comes back to your warehouse, and that held of sales order is being released, and now it's good to be fulfilled. So to connect these marketplaces or shopping carts to your Zoho inventory, you can connect them using your multiple SKUs. You can map them to the right items and their counterparts in Zoho inventory. And so the stock is being updated on the go. So whenever, let's say, the same listing is being available on Shopify, eBay, Amazon, and Etsy at the same time. And if eBay makes a sale, that sales will be recorded, and the updated inventory will be sent over to all these different, sales channels, and make sure that is being deducted on the go. So, it can prevent you from overselling. Now we have sales orders. So sales orders are being fetched from these marketplaces into Zoho. And from there, the contact is also being recorded. That is, the contact of your customer is being recorded, and it is being converted into packages and invoices. The shipment order is being generated. The shipment is being created. I mean, you can create a shipping label directly from the system, as we have integrated with around 20 plus carriers, including UPS, USPS, FedEx, and more. So once that is being generated, is being shipped out of the system. The shipment details are being automatically pushed into these respective marketplaces, or even to the customer. You can set up an email trigger, so it will send out the details. So you can have that complete professional experience, which a customer might experience from, say, giants like Amazon or Walmart, and it can directly help you out here. So the order fulfillment process. The usual workflow is this. You might be a wholesaler. So on a B2B perspective, you might have a customer who comes to you as to a wholesaler. So you can either fulfill it from either of these warehouses, or you can place it directly with your vendor and get it fulfilled, more like a B2B sales. Now the customer payments, we do integrate with Stripe, PayPal, WePay, Forte, and all these integrations out there, just like what we have with Zoho Books. The packing, yeah. So when I was mentioning the packing part, you can have a slip which can be generated without any monetary values in there. So it will be just the number of items and the shipment orders, order references and all that, which can be used to be packed and put up in that box in order to create a complete package. Even when the customer receives it, he can see what is available in the package and see if there's anything missing. And also you can see to the reference of the sales order number as well. Shipment tracking. So yeah, this is an important part. So everybody are aware of how you track a shipment in real time in Amazon. So you place an order, you go there, and you can see that the order is being scanned in from the mother hub, and it's being transported to the secondary hub, and then the final hub, and when it's out for delivery. So this all can be done in Zoho Inventory. So there are two modes of shipping. One is the manual shipments, through which you can integrate with the carrier and generate the shipping labels, where the shipping labels, once it is being generated, those shipments will be automatically marked as delivered from the carrier. So you don't have to do any extra work to go back, check the shipment, and update that the product has been delivered. So it's automatically done for you. So if you don't have a shipping carrier that is available in our system, if you work with somebody else, I'm pretty sure you will find that in our Easy Ship integration. Sorry, not Easy Ship integration, my bad. Aftership integration. So Aftership integrates with 420 plus carriers across the globe, and pretty much all the carriers are there. So I haven't heard many customers complaining about it. So all these carriers, since it's out there available, so all you have to do is just select the right carrier, put your label, your tracking ID there, and just click on track. So what happens, you get a complete detailed view of the shipment from the moment when it was picked up from your warehouse until it was dropped to the customer. So you get to see each and every moment of that particular shipment.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. I need to launch my first poll question. This will only take about 20 seconds or so. And if you want to go ahead and head on over to the questions panel, maybe you can answer one of those questions real quick.
Thankfully, we've been able to answer most of the questions. The question panel, but the one thing I'll mention, Salman, we had a couple of questions. So using the shipping integrations, like the direct shipping carriers or AfterShip, you can actually calculate the cost inside of Zoho Inventory, right?
Well, actually, yes. So it does give you an overview of what all are the different services available with the shipping carrier, integrated shipping carrier, or if you have negotiated rates with them, it's going to fetch those rates. So yeah, you can see it up front before creating the label.
Okay, awesome. I'll give it about 10 more seconds and then we can continue.
Well, I see that somebody is asking for a picking and packing list. Well, actually, their picking list feature is right now available. So it's not included in this. It was just bought in a few months back. A few weeks back. So I believe that's in the beta phase. So you should be able to get access to it easily.
Okay, awesome, Salman. You're ready to go. I appreciate it.
All right, perfect. So yeah, so this is some of the carriers integrated with us, and this is how a shipping label will be when it's being downloaded from the system. And this is the tracking I was talking about. So once you create the shipments, all you have to enter is the tracking ID, and once you create the tracking, there you go. You have all the delivery details from when it was picked up to it's been dropped. So what if you do when you're low on stock? So as I mentioned earlier, the best way to do that is to create a transfer order. So that is, well, we were discussing about is assigning that order to a different warehouse, but well, we have another option that is you can transfer your stock from one warehouse to the other using the transfer order. So, you can have multiple levels of stock controls that anybody, if you want to assign a particular person to a particular warehouse, you can do that. So you can have a person to the top on the top level doing it all the different warehouses. So if the stock goes down on one of the warehouses, he'll be able to see and get that let that person know and initiate a transfer order from there. So if the stock is low in the other warehouse, you can just create a transfer and move that stock. You can even track these stock transfers in detail when it comes to a movement of goods. With the shipping carrier integrations. So back ordering, yeah. So back ordering can be done when the stock is low. I mean, you can create a sales order. You can convert that into a purchase order to the vendor directly, and then drop it to your warehouse and get it shipped to the customer, as mentioned earlier. Then we have drop shipment. So we do support drop shipments. So this drop shipment does not affect your inventory at all. So what it does is, if at all you're low in stock, you have two options. One is you can do a back order, or else you can do a drop shipment where the PO will be raised to the vendor, and the vendor will fulfill the stock of that particular shipment towards to the customer directly. And all you do is raise an invoice against to the customer and make a payment against the bill given to you by the vendor. So the shipment goes directly from the vendor to the customer. So inventory tracking is an important part when it comes to inventory system, of course. So here we have an option to do multiple sort of in-depth tracking, that is serial number tracking, where you can manage each and every item's serial numbers, say like an IMEI for a mobile phone, or a serial number for a complex electronic product. Then we have batch tracking, say for medicines or food products, where you can manage your expiry and manufacturing date, and you can see when the product was taken in and when it was taken out. Then we have barcode scanning. We support barcode and RFID scanning. So Zoho Inventory also supports generation of barcodes, which was a recently introduced feature. So Zoho Inventory can help you create a barcode and use that to track your products. And you can assign those products with a barcode. So all you have to just connect is, even if it's a Bluetooth, barcode scanner, a wireless Bluetooth barcode scanner or a wired scanner, all you have to do is just make sure it is compatible with the system. Then we have the bundling option where you can associate multiple products and create a final product. So here, what you do is you can take in this screen, as you see, you can pick up a MacBook Pro, an Apple adapter, and an Apple mouse together. You can create a bundle of all these products and sell it as a combo, let's say. So adjustments. Well, before going to adjustments, I just want to quickly say that in this bundling feature, you can also consider this as a semi-production module, because a good number of our customers use this as a production module, because you can even associate service costs and inventory at the same time, because this will help you to calculate how much money was spent there in each bundling from the items that you purchase and the ones you've been selling. So basically, at the end of the day, you get a complete report on the bundling, and you can see how much cost was incurred in each of these bundling process as such. Well, adjustments help you to make quantity and value adjustments. Quantity adjustments refers to the number of units inside your inventory, while value adjustment refers to the change in values for a particular item and its complete stock, say from season to season or from month to month changes and such. You can see reorder levels. You can find out what all items are low in stock, and you can quickly try to replenish them based on the preferred vendor, or you can directly create a purchase order for these items, for these low stock items alone from the items module. You have separate filters for that. So, well, if you want to launch a poll, Tala, Nathan, can go ahead before we jump into the product.
No, that's okay. We actually have a few more minutes, but I did have a couple questions I wanted to clarify with you before you jump into the product.
Sure.
So one is, of course, another word for composite items is kitting, right? And if you want to put together a bundle price that's lower than the sum of those individual items, you can do that using composite items?
Yeah, of course, you can do that.
Okay, fantastic. And then another question is in terms of companies that drop ship, there's some companies that exclusively drop ship all their items. I know you can manually kind of select drop shipment. Is there a way to kind of make that the default mode, or currently you still have to go in and select that for each order?
Well, actually, at the moment, you can you'll have to do it manually, but I believe there should be some automation options which we can explore. That is actually a custom, requirement that we consider that as a custom requirement, so we can actually look into it and help you out.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Hey, Tal, I'm going to go ahead and launch the second poll question just because I don't want to cut them off during a demo.
Thanks, Nathan.
So we'll give this about 15 more seconds and we'll continue. All right, Solomon?
Sure.
The question is just simply, have you ever used Zoho Inventory before? And it looks like over 65% have not. So this is definitely a great session to be in on if you're interested in Zoho Inventory. All right, about 5 more seconds. And just remember, everyone, if you miss a poll question, you can go back into the polls tab and answer a previous poll question. All right, you're good to go. Appreciate it, everyone.
All right, thanks, Nathan. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. I hope you can all see my screen here. So, well, this is a product, a Zoho Inventory, which we have. So this is a quick overview of all what you get inside Zoho Inventory, about the dashboard, what is the top selling products, and what items are low in stock. So if you click on this in hyperlink, it'll take you to that particular list of products. See it'll show you what are the number of sales orders directly. So if I have integrated, I have integrated my Shopify and other marketplaces. So if I would have had some sales on that, it'll definitely show up over here as multiple sales channels and how many orders came in and all that. And it'll show you a sales graph based on which channel made the most number of sales and what is the flow of sales as of now. Going in, well, we have a couple more interesting features. So This is the basic items module where you can quickly create a product by filling in the details like item name, dimensions, or you can, if you want to drag and drop up to 15 images, you can do that. Then you can have SKUs, a unit of measurement on how you want to create a, how you want to track this particular product. If you want to categorize the products, you can do the categorization. You can even add multiple categories. You can add subcategories and apply a particular category to a particular item. You can also do sales prices, purchase prices. You can associate all the different accounts that you have created in Zoho Books or inventory to these items. You can track inventory for this item, or you can leave it as a non-inventory item or even a service item. Here you have track serial number options and track batches options, which will help you to add the different serial numbers associated with the opening stock. So opening stock and even the batches. So even when you add the batches, it'll help you to find out the the expiry and manufacturing dates and so on. So here you have the multiple warehouses. So you can add more warehouses over here. So if you want to create an opening stock based on the multiple warehouses, while you create an item, you can do that right from the items creation module. So I'll just quickly show you one particular item. So this is actually a batch tracked item. So this is actually an Happy Fizz drink. And I have a few units available here, in my amazing department, which is stock on hand. So if I want to see the batch details, all I have to do is just go in there, open the batch reference. It'll show me what all had happened to this particular batch, how I bought in this particular batch, and what is the balance number of units in this batch, and what is the date, what is the expiry date, and the transfer order quantities of how many I have transferred from one warehouse to the other. If I have created any sales, so this is actually through a sales. I had packaged one of these items and sent it over to my customer. So we also have serial number similarly. So you can find the serialized items over here. All you do is, so this is actually, this wireless router is actually another serialized item, which when you go inside, you can find out the different serialized items here. And so when I click on it, it'll show me where it came from. So if it was actually a bill from my vendor where I purchased it, it'll show me that it came in through a bill and a purchase received. So yeah, this is the default view of how an item would look like in these multiple warehouses and the different quantities. Now going over to the transactions module over here, you'll find more details about this particular item on where you can filter it out. You can see related list, which is actually a customized option. You can see any adjustments I have made to this item, like write-offs or damaged goods or sort of. And if you want to find out any history to this particular item, any changes, you can see who made the changes, which user made the changes, or if any updates were done, you can find out all the previous details as every entry is being captured. I'm just going to take you through the composite items, right? So let's say I'm going to take you to one of the So here I have an assembled part. So when I edit this assembled part, I have multiple associated items to this particular item. This is actually an inventory tracked item part, AZ1 and #UT. So these are two different units associated with their selling prices and cost prices as per their item's actual cost. So now I can associate a category. I can have units. I can associate services. So services can include labor cost, which has been the cost to manufacture this particular unit. So now, if you see here, I have the cost, which can be either copy from total. If I do that, it comes directly from the total cost price over here, 8 plus 20, and so on. So if I want to make any changes, I can quickly make that changes, just like how Talha was asking a few minutes back. And if I want to put up all the details, the constituents, it can just give me the details over here. I can have multiple custom fields over here. So all these fields that you see here are custom fields which can be associated to items. So this can be multiple types. It can be drop down. It can be lookup. It can be any sort of fields. I mean, so we have a lot of different fields available there. So then you can associate the right inventory account over here. You can also have serial numbers and batch tracking done for these items, and you can save the item. So now you have the final product. So this is the final product, and whenever, excuse me. So whenever I want to create a finished good, all I do is just go to the create bundle option. It'll show me, you know, I can create 2.5 units as per the current available stock for these items over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly select one of the serial numbers which will be consumed, and if I want to have a barcode scanning enabled, I can just enable the barcode scanning. I can simply scan that item and add the serial numbers. I'm just going to create 1 unit, 1 quantity of this bundle, and I save the bundle. Now we can see this is the total cost incurred for me. It's $28, and the any item part details are these. These are the different serial numbers that were consumed. And when I go back to the particular product, I can see that under the bundle history. So far I have the 2 bundling for this particular product. One was on 20th November and another one was 16th December. So overview, now I can see that I have 1 unit on stock while I had sold the previous item. So it'll also show you if any quantity has to be shipped or received as per the sales orders, or anything was supposed to be received from your vendor, which is currently on an active sales order or purchase order, and so on. Right, so that's pretty much about the composite items. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them in the questions bar. We'll take it up. Now, price list, just like the prices feature in Zoho Books, we have a prices feature inside Zoho Inventory. So you can do multiple prices like markup and markdown on a percentage-wise, or you can even do individual item-based price list where you can export the complete items, a list of items, and have a customized prices, and you can even associate a particular price list to a customer or a vendor. So because we have a sales prices and purchase prices associates to a vendor and sales to the customer. Inventory adjustments. Inventory adjustments is nothing much, just doing adjustments, basically stock updates, doing stock updates. That would be the right word. So let's say you have some damaged goods. All you do is just go there, select the right item, right, and see that you don't have 32 right now. So all you have is 31. So you are just going to take it off from a particular batch. So you can see all the different batches over here. I'm just going to take it off from one particular batch, save it. Because there's actually a batch tracked item. If it's a serial number tracked, I've asked me to pick up one particular serial number to take it off the list. Now I can either save it as draft or convert to adjusted. So save as draft will have, you can have a different person approve it and convert to adjustment. So now I have directly written it off. Now my quantity of that particular item will stay as 15. Now transfer orders is pretty easy. It's just about transferring an item from a particular warehouse to a different warehouse. So you see here you have 10 packet wipes. So what I do is I have a source stock of 194 units and destination stock of 15 units. As per the warehouse selected, I'm just going to transfer over 50 units there. All I can do is just save as draft or initiate a transfer. So if I saved as draft, it will not be transferred, it will stay as draft. I'm going to initiate a transfer. So once I transfer, it's in transit, so the stock will not be available in either of the warehouses while it is in transit. So I can track the stock transfer. So, if I'm using a carrier, like any of these, so I did mention about the different carrier integrations available. So I can just select the right, UPS or Mail Innovations, Freight, or anything, and just do the tracking. But since I'm not really having an actual tracking over here, I'm not doing it right now because it will not allow me to complete the transfer. So all I do is just mark as transferred once it is being received in the other warehouse, save it, and now my product is being transferred. So when I go to this particular product, it'll show me that the inventory available is different from what I have here. So I did transfer 15 units stock on hand. So now we have available for sale 50, so it makes it 65 from 15. That's how you do transfer order. So customer details is pretty much what you have like Zoho Books, but in addition to that, you might have a few more details like, okay, let me go to Stealth Co. The Stealth Co has a lot of sales and invoices, sales invoices and credit notes and returns that I have done with them. So Zoho Inventory supports the returns, of which we'll be talking later. So every comments and sales related transactions and retainer invoices, any credit notes, everything will be updated in this customer related details. You can even create statements for the end of the month. You can have multiple billing and shipping addresses and so on. Now, the next feature is retainer invoices. Well, retainer invoices can be created to your customers on advance payments. This is actually a complete life cycle of a sales order, what I'm going to show you right now. So let's take Stealth Co. I'm just going to create a quick sales transaction with Stealth Co. So I'm just going to have 10 packet wipes, and I'm going to sell 20 units. Wait, so amount, everything will be populated. Any shipping charges needed? I'm good to go. I'm just going to save as dropped. So, well, so since I have a credit limit on this customer, it is not allowing me. Okay, I'm just going to give it as 300. Right, I'm afraid I would not be able to do that right now. It looks like that is being set up by a different administrator inside the system. Sorry about that. So it will show you quickly an overview of all the customers' transactions and outstanding receivables before creating an order. So you can even change the different warehouses over here to to make sure that you can change that item from one warehouse to the other. So if you want to make a sale from South Dakota warehouse, I have 50 units available there. Sorry, 65 on hand, and I'm just going to take out 20 units from there. So all I have to do is just save it as dropped. So if you have any shipping charges as such, you can mention it over there. And now it's actually confirmed. Now I can simply create a package. I can scan the items one by one, and so it'll keep on adding to that quantity, or else I can simply create a partial package over here. So if I have only 10 to ship, and then you can save the package. So the rest of the fields over here that you see, these are all custom fields which I added for my own convenience. Now the package, so that the package list is ready, I can ship it to my customer manually. So if I do it manually, I can track the shipment in real time. I can select the right shipping, or let's say FedEx. Okay. So we have FedEx. I can give it the tracking details. Save it. So we have shipped it via carrier. So when I click on this, if it was an actual shipment tracking ID there, it would have shown me the complete details of the particular shipment that was being generated over here. While going back to the same sales order, you should be able to see the package over here, which has been shipped with all the details of the shipment. While if you want to create another package, all right, so that is when you can see that there are 20 units ordered and there are only 10 packed and shipped, I can create the second package over here. So this is another important feature where you can do create a packaging, and you can see a 3D image visualization on how the packed item can go inside a particular box. This is actually a pretty interesting feature, I should say. Actually compute on how many units should go in that. So I can keep adding the different boxes, right? The different products, and I can see how I wanna place that products in there. In different ways. So I can create a summary, I can create a package. There it goes. All right, so I'm just gonna go view my package. There you go. We have a package with 10 units. So whatever we did it manually, we can visualize it in a 3D visualization and do it over here. Now, if I do it via carrier, here all my integrated carriers will appear over here. I can click on save and continue, proceed. I can give the weights. So this is actually, since UPS is the integrated carrier over here that I have UPS over here, or else if I have integrated my FedEx or USPS, it should show me all those different carriers and I can select which one I want to go with. So I can select with the different, default boxes available. I can mention it's, let's say, 20 LBS, LBs. I want to have managed additional handling, COD, residential delivery, and I can just click on continue and click on calculate rates. It'll show me all the different rates available for the day. And select one and create a shipment. Well, I'm not creating a shipment right now.
Hey, Solomon, I'm going to launch a third poll question. And during the poll, can you go to the questions panel? I know there's a lot of questions in there that take the inventory expert to kind of answer.
Sure, I can do that. I'm just going to going back to the questions. All right.
And Saman, you can actually project the questions onto the screen if you'd like.
I can. Sure, I will do that.
If you could just take a minute, just because we have a few, and I know there's a lot of really great questions coming in. We can pick out some of them as well.
Right. I think people are very engaged. I appreciate that. I think there's some really good questions in there, and I think for the most part, we've got some real good ideas on how to use Zoho Inventory here.
So Winston Renard has a question on, I want to be able to use Zoho Inventory to sell a product in kit and also sell separately. So yeah, sure, you can do it separately. So you can buy the products individually, sell it separately, or you can sell it in a kit and sell it as a composite item with a different SKU and totally different item name. Definitely you can do that.
And kind of on a related question, is there a way to unbundle a composite item?
So unbundling is currently not available. So this is actually a requirement from many of our customers. So this is in the final stage of testing. The development is actually going on right now. So since it's in the final stage of testing, it should be available anytime soon. Maybe Q1 of 2021 is what I'm expecting. So this will help you to break down a huge palette of products and sell it individually.
Okay, and we have a few other kind of related items. So there's a question related to item groups. So if you want to open up your screen share, we can probably I can probably throw the questions at you that way.
Sure. So actually going to this question here, is it possible to skip package and shipping for certain orders? Yeah, of course. So you can directly create invoices and take out the inventory if it's a normal sales, an in-shop purchase or something. So you can do that directly. Right. So you want me to go to the item groups, right?
No, it's okay. You don't have to actually jump into them. I was just there was a question related to that. If you have a moment, the question is in item groups. If you can open it, is there's currently a limitation of 3 different variations or attributes, I should say, and then you can create as many different options within those as needed. But will there be any kind of option to have more than 3 variations?
I'm afraid we don't have this right now, but we can actually create more items and add them into that particular group is the best option that we have right now. I mean, so these products will have to be manually imported into the system or created inside the system. So then you can bulk select them and push them into a particular group and have them as a part of it. So I'm afraid we don't have an option to have multiple attributes right now. I mean, more than 3, I mean. But this is something the team is exploring, so should have a solution soon.
Got it. Okay, I think that's it for now. We're going to get to more questions probably in a few minutes. So,
yep. All right. The last poll question, I'm going to leave it up for 5 more seconds, then we can continue. Just a reminder, if you miss any poll questions, just go ahead and go to the poll section and find the one you missed. All right, you can continue.
But going back here, well, I kind of missed item groups, so maybe that's why they had the question come up. So, right, let's clear that out. We have an item groups here. So item groups is nothing but an easier way to group your products. So it is just about creating a product in your inventory system with multiple attributes and options. Say, an iPhone, let's say. We have a number of units, manufacturer, brand. You can select a brand, you can select a manufacturer, you can select a category, and you can have mention it if it's a taxable item or non-taxable item. All you have to do is just type in the size. So this is actually predefined. So this is something I have typed and added. So that's why it's actually available from my history, right? So size, let's say, normal plus and SE. Then we have colors, black, gray, white, product, red. We have storage. Oh, let's say memory. We have 64, 128, 256. Right, so I can generate an SKU with my SKU generator. So I can select how many letters should go in. Memory, 3 letters, yeah, of course. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead, create my SKUs all the way here. And I can just have my per unit cost. Let's say it's like $500, $499. So I can have different prices for all of them. I know $499 for all the iPhones will be insane, but I'm just going to copy it down there. And I'm going to sell it at $600, let's say. So we can have a reorder point from the point where we want to trigger an alarm or an alert to yourselves. Just going to put it in there. I'm just going to configure the accounts if I want to configure any specific accounts. We're going to save and next. So we have all these items created in a single go inside my system as an item group. So if I want to add any opening stocks, I can mention it over here. I'm just going to save because I don't want to add any more stocks. So we have the complete list of items over here. So it will just look like any other item. So it's just that, it was pretty easy to group it together. So when you go inside active item group, you can see t-shirts over here. So if I see here, you can see the breakdowns. There's actually a t-shirt group which I have, and mobile phones that I have, essentials, and so on. Right. So a pick list. So pick list is nothing but an easier way to create a picking option, picking for for your items in your inventory. So you can select the customer. And search. Well, how long? So I'm just gonna. So these are the current items which has been ready for picking, because I believe most of the other excuse me, most of the other items have been picked already and packed. So I can just add that particular item, or if I want to add more, yeah, I have more items here. So I'm just going to quickly select them from this particular warehouse. So this is actually related to that particular warehouse, and sales orders are related to that particular warehouse. I'm just going to add those items. So this will help me create a pick list that has been, quantity to be picked, and how many units are ready to be picked, and so on. So you can generate a pick list easily, and we have a pick list ready, and you can assign it to one of the users in my organization. So that can be a picking person, and so you have multiple statuses to this particular pick list. You can update a pick list if you need, and so on. So this is actually a quick pick list. So once it is completed, the assignee can easily mark it as completed. All right. So now we have the packages module, where you can see all the different packages created from the different sales orders and their current statuses, whether they've been packed or shipped or it's been delivered, and so on. Multiple views. So the invoices. So we were looking at sales orders over here. So this was the last created sales order that we had. Now from the sales order itself, I can directly convert that into an instant invoice or a convert to an invoice. So when I give convert to an invoice, I can manage, or if I want to make any changes to that invoice on any text or fields or any subject, if I want to add there, everything is available. So these terms and conditions and customer notes can all be set up from the preferences. If I want to add a contact person, I can, if I have one already associated with the contact in the customer, it will be available there. So save it as draft, or I can directly click on save and send to create the invoice. So now draft invoice is not active, so I'm just going to mark it as sent. So this is actually an unpaid invoice. So here, when I go to my invoices, this invoice will appear directly over here, and these invoices will directly sync into Zoho Books for accounting purposes. So any payments are being received through any of the online payment portals that you have, or any integrations that you have done with Stripe or Forte, anything can be given as an option for the customer to make the payments while sending out the emails, so they can make the payments directly, and it'll be reflected in your Zoho Books instantaneously. Looking at the payments received, you can see all the different payments received. So the returns module. So now, before going into the returns module, so these are sales returns that is being done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go quickly into the sales order which we just created an invoice and sent out. I'm just going to create a sales return. So I can create an RMA for 10 units because that was the only product that was being shipped, while the other package was not shipped. So I'm just going to click on save. And let's say, okay, I just kind of missed something here. So this is a warehouse which I want to return it to. So I'm just going to return it to that particular warehouse. And once I get the product back, I can create a receipt. See if everything was received in perfect notes. I can put it up as received in good condition. Refund approved. So we have refund approved. This is return receipt. Now we can create a credit note from here. So we can create a credit note against that invoice which we already generated for the 10 units, which will again reflect in your Zoho books. So you can apply it to an existing invoice, these credits, or else I can directly, refund the credit note to my customer. So since we haven't made any customer payments so far from that particular invoice, we're just going to create a credit note and leave it as it is. So when I go to my sales return module, I'll be able to see all these RMAs and associated credit notes and receives and everything in that same module. Now, if you have any questions regarding this, please feel free to post. And guys, if you want to run any polls,
sure. Salman, so we have a few different questions I've been going through, and you can probably take a second to look at those. Can you also very quickly go to the trainer chat, so people, trainer, and then chat for a moment?
Sure, I can do that.
Everyone, I'm going to launch the 4th polling question. So you should have answered 4 by now if you want to receive a CP. And if you missed it, go to the polls section to answer the ones you missed.
So we have some pretty important, interesting questions over here. Yeah. So one of them includes. So Anne has been asking if there's a possible, probably best answer to the questions. Okay. Want to know if the components cost increase over time, is it possible to add a custom function that automatically updates the composite cost? Well, this can be explored, and so we can look into it.
And if you can, someone you can actually project the questions so that we can see them as well. That may help. Sure. And then please, if you do get a chance under the trainer chat, please take a look at that.
Oh yeah, I'm actually looking at the trainer's chat. So I believe I was looking at one of the questions.
Okay.
And I believe that is actually available in.
And just to any of my co-presenters, there's a little bit of background noise. So if all of us can just make sure our mics are muted, or if there's any kind of wind noise or rubbing, if you could take a look at that. Thank you so much. There are a few other questions here. Saman, if you want to actually share them, you can. There's a question that we got about SKUs for composite items. So if you does Zoho Inventory generate a virtual SKU? How does that work? How do you track SKUs for composite items?
Oh well, about this question. So question on scanning data. So if you want to scan an SKU plus quantity, can these two values be scanned at once and populate 2 different fields? Yeah. So if you have 2 units of the particular item, all you have to do is just scan that SKU using your barcode scanner. And so the second unit, you can just pick that up and scan that. So what it'll do is it'll just detect that same item over there. It'll replace that 1 quantity with 2. Yeah, so this is the question which I was answering to Tala. So So we have this feature being feature currently being developed. So we should have an option soon to buy it in backs and sell it in units or square feet, as you just mentioned, Mac. Again, the same question. This is the same question I answered previously. So this is actually multiple units of measurements, which we are currently developing, which includes a feature to break down products. Just since it is actually a multiple unit of measurement feature. Yeah, sure. So inside Zoho Inventory, we have a barcode generation feature which can be accessed right now in beta. So since this is in beta, you'll have to reach out to a support team or the partner support team to have this enabled for you. We can do it from the back end for you, and once it is available, you can directly make use of it. When I last tested Shopify integration, variants came in. Shopify became group items. Is this still the case? We can change the mapping and link a variant in Shopify to a composite item in Zoho. Yeah, sure, definitely you can do that. So you can definitely map an item from Shopify to a composite item in Zoho. So these are all, KGs and LBS because these are all predefined units. So we can definitely look into having more units included in here. Now, if you could just send me an email, I will take this up with the team because they have been including a list of more units. I believe this should be available right now. We can definitely have a look at that. I'm afraid, Maria, we don't have an option to include subgroups inside active item groups. Well, so let's get back to the session. So I believe we might have received the polls.
Yeah, you can go ahead and continue on. Everyone answered.
And there was actually one more question I wanted to present to you, Salman, and I thought it was relevant because I thought of this earlier too. If you want to use your inventory to order items that you are not going to resell, so if it's like packaging items, let's say boxes, bubble wrap, things like that, is that something that you can also do? How would you create those items in Zoho Inventory?
Well, actually, if that is something you want to track, then you'll have to definitely create that as an inventory item, or else you can, let's say you want to do composite bundles or kits, with those boxes, then you can actually add that as an item into into that particular kit, and so it will be consumed during the that kitting or bundling process, and it will be automatically taken away from your inventory. Or if you want to do make an adjustment, or if you consider this as a non-tracked item, all you have to do is just do the purchases, and when you create the item, you don't have to track inventory for these items.
And can you also prevent them from being like shown in your Zoho Commerce or Shopify, things like that? You just wouldn't map those items, right?
Sure. Yeah, you
Okay,
can do that.
thank you so much.
So now, since we have covered the returns part, we're going to go to the vendor side of it. So here we have, just like the customers, we have the complete vendor details and signing payables and so on. So I can just create a quick vendor purchase order from here. Let's say I'm creating it to my wire vendor. And this is the warehouse I want to take it to, or South Dakota warehouse. I can have multiple addresses as well. So I'm going to purchase 10 units of these and 30 units of these. Or maybe we can have it as a let's say a batch tracked item, right? So let's purchase 20 units. All right. So I'm just not going to send it. So I can just mark it as issued and it'll be active. And now I can receive them. So when I receive them, I can add my batches. Or if I want to add more batches, say like, if they came up in 2 different batches. And let's say it expires in early February. So we have 2 different batches. We have all the products here. I can do a partial receive or a complete receive. So I'm going to do a complete receive over here. Show me all the batches that came in through this receive. So you have 2 options. Either you can track your batches and serial numbers from a receive perspective, or you can take it to a bill option. So if you do it from the receive, you can do the you can capture the batch details or the serial number details from here in the receives itself. And when you convert that into a bill, all right, so since I have a receive, I can convert that into a bill from here. So we have a bill number, which is going to be a vendor invoice number. And if I want to add any landing cost or landed cost, this will easily add on to the particular item's inventory value. So let's say it's a transportation cost. I'm going to open and apply landed cost over here. So landed cost can be allocated in different ways. It can be quantity or value based. So I'm going to put it as value based. Guys, give me a quick minute here. Let me grab my charger. I'm really sorry about this.
No worries. We'll go through some questions at this time.
Sure.
All right, let me go ahead and present a couple questions. So we have a question on mapping variants. I think Salman covered this earlier. You can absolutely do this to composite items. I'm just going to go through these to make sure we can kind of clear these. We just reviewed item groups earlier. Can items be separated in a logical way like warehouses? Yes, absolutely. So one of the things in Zoho Inventory that's so important is the multi-warehouse capability. And I actually had another question earlier that may come up, which was, is there any kind of solution for rentals? Unfortunately, Zoho Inventory doesn't have a specific rental management system yet. However, it does have a ability to create multiple warehouses. So I've actually seen people create a warehouse that would be for products that are outgoing in rental, that they come back. It is a workaround. It's definitely not the best way to do things, but it is definitely something you can utilize. This is yeah,
hey,
absolutely.
While we're waiting for Salman, I'll go ahead and launch the 5th poll question, just so whenever he gets back, we can just focus on inventory for the remainder of the session.
So this is a question that I'll have to present to Salman. So if you guys look in the chat, I've actually put Salman's email. I feel bad for Salman, but he is an amazing resource for Zoho Inventory. Really, any call I've had on with him, he's figured out some kind of solution. So definitely, if we weren't able to answer your question, don't hesitate to reach out. He will be able to do that. So once Salman comes back, Salman, just let me know. This is a question that would be for him, which is...
I'm here.
Hey, Salman. So the question is if you initially forget to change a warehouse on the PO, it's something that you're not able to modify at a later point in time. Is this something that you think will be change in the future to make this a little bit easier?
I believe I didn't get the question
So
actually. So
if you originally create a purchase order and you mark a particular warehouse that it'll go to, when you receive the products, let's say you mark the incorrect warehouse, you're not able to change the warehouse at that time, I believe.
Well, actually, from the time when you have created the order itself, you do have an option to edit and change the warehouses, and even till the point you receive the goods, you can change it. So you can change that warehouse right before receiving the.
So it has to be before the receive. So once you receive, you've got to make sure you. So you've got to make sure. Okay, so that may be something we want to take a look at.
Or else you'll have to delete that receive. Yeah, else you'll have to delete that receive and just go edit the purchase order, change that particular warehouse to the right warehouse, and just make the receipt.
Okay, got it. You should have session control now, and you can share your screen again.
All right, sure.
And just to let you know, you have about a little under 15 minutes left in the session.
Should be great, yeah. So that's a quick bill module over there. So bill done, and we have all the details on the purchase order, the receipts and the bills, and pretty much everything we have here. So I can apply the credits for my vendor, and so bill value somewhere around 233. I'm just going to apply all of it. I'm going to apply it. There it goes. So we have all the details on the batches, including the drinks, expiry, and the manufacturing and all that. So the payments made will be available here in the payments made module. Vendor credits available in the vendor credits module. So we have all of it. Now we are just going to quickly go to the integrations module over here. So in the integrations, we have been talking about shipping integrations. So if you look at the shipping integrations, it's AfterShip or UPS. So AfterShip is used to track the shipments, while UPS is used to create shipments. Similarly, USPS and other integrations available here. So we have a good number of integrations available in the system. Then going to the shopping cart, we have Shopify. Shopify can also be managed with your multiple warehouse. So there's been the recent option where you can, connect your locations, multi-locations to your Shopify. So I'm just going to quickly enable this integration and show you how it looks like. So you can manage even your different stock location feature in Shopify in Zoho Inventory, as it's actually a completely, available, in a completely compatible version. So you can even, if you want to map a particular warehouse to that particular Shopify alone, you can do that by, mapping from here, so that, you can control the stock updates only from this particular warehouse. And you have Zoho Commerce. Zoho Commerce can help you create the shopping cart, and it's directly integrated to Zoho. So any orders that comes in will fall into Zoho Inventory, just like how it happens in Shopify. And it's actually pretty seamless, so we don't have any difference in the sync timings as such. It's very live, and everything comes in real time. The third-party integrations like Cartrover and Cartrover will help you integrate all these different shopping carts, which has not been directly integrated by Zoho. When it comes to e-commerce, we have Amazon US, Etsy, eBay, and other third-party integrations like JIT, Rakuten, Jure, Walmart marketplaces, Wayfair, Overstock, and House. So these are all done by Cartrover, while the first three are done by Zoho Inventory directly, and it's just a plug and play. While Cartrover will help you integrate the rest of them through a third-party interface, and it's got a different subscription charge. But they are very reliable system. We have on the accounting part, we have Zoho Books and QuickBooks. So if your customer want to go with Zoho Books, you can directly get it integrated with Zoho Books, which is very seamless. While QuickBooks might have a small sync time available there, which will take the right time to sync your invoices and payments to QuickBooks and so on. Coming to sales and marketing, we have integrations with Salesforce, MailChimp on CRM, and MailChimp for mails, Pipedrive for CRM, SurveyMonkey for surveys, and so on. And this is a pretty interesting integration. It's in beta. While this can help you manage your GMC. So GMC is actually for marketing purposes. So you can have all your products synced from your Zoho inventory to your GMC, and so it's pretty easy. You can just create an account in GMC, and you can use these to run your ads on Google AdWords using campaigns. So here you can manage your campaigns, and you can create your different campaigns and see the impressions, overview, cost, clicks, and much more. The Christmas sales value, for example, is actually one of the campaigns which we have created here, and this campaign can be put up with a budget, and based on the conversions, I can see all the clicks, impressions, and costs, and conversion value per clicks over here. So these are not live campaigns right now that I have over here, but this is how the GMC integration looks like. So this is actually a very new feature, which is why we haven't introduced, which why we don't have it in the presentation over there, the presentation which we just had. So here you can claim your website, you can map it directly to your Zoho inventory, and so the best impressive feature here is that when a product goes out of stock in inventory, it doesn't run your ads anymore in Google. So you can save you or your clients can save a lot of money when there is no active product available inside your Zoho inventory, because it's actually a click per cost per click, a CPC model. It tends to show out the ad when if you don't control the stock at the in real time in your GMC system. So Zoho Inventory can help you with that. Now, EDI interfaces, we have SPS Commerce, Crossfire Cloud EDI, B2B Gateway, and so on. So they can help you connect your 3PL providers or any other third-party systems with Zoho Inventory through EDI, because actually we see that EDI is a very much restricted feature in these days. I mean, there's a lot of our customers want them to be EDI compatible. So then we have Twilio integration. Twilio integration will help you to manage your automated SMS notifications to your customers, invoices, payments, and much more. So Zoho apps, as you see, we have integrated with Zoho CRM, Zoho Sign, Analytics, Click, and Zoho Desk. Zoho Desk integration is very interesting because it helps you to manage your tickets from there. You can find all your invoices towards a ticket, associated with the ticket, and see much more details inside Zoho Desk itself. So you don't have to go back and forth if you want to find out customers' previous invoices, which will help you to manage your warranty and much more like that. So Sign helps you to sign your financial documents, analytics. So we have direct integration with analytics, which will help you to push all your products from Zoho Inventory to, I mean, not your products, but all your data which you have inside Zoho Inventory, including the reports, to push them into analytics and create insightful reports, which can stay a step above from the default reports what we have in Zoho Inventory. While the other apps include Slack, G Suite, and Microsoft and Avalara integrations to manage your taxes and your contacts. Now coming to the automation feature. Automation is a very impressive functionality, as you might have seen in Zoho books as well. So there are different workflow rules that you can set up. So say like if you wanna uh, let your sales lead know that there was a sales over $3,000 for the day, or if there was sales more than $3,000 to a particular customer, you can do that as an automation. Or say if you want on a particular field level information, if you want to update any information, or if you want to do any calculations in an invoice or a purchase order or sales order, you can do that using this feature where you can do multiple workflows based on modules. So for example, quickly, this workflow rule name and when to trigger one is being created or edited, execute when any field is updated. Next, so when the shipment status and the total value is greater than or equal to 3,000 USD, it will do that trigger, right? So now, what type of action do you want? If you want an email alert, so I'm just going to give an email alert. So I can create an email template. I can select an email template. I can add new email templates over here. I can add my email recipients. I can so that can be the contact email. Oh, sorry, no, not that. So let's say Aruna Kumar is my sales lead. I can set it up. I can save it so that whenever there is a sales order of more than $3,000, it's going to automatically send an email. Similarly, there is a lot of possibilities in this particular automation module, which is endless, because we do find whenever we come across a requirement, if it is not directly possible, we find an option to do this through the workflow rules and automations functionality. So you can even set up time-based execution times and so on based on the scheduler. So I'm just going to save it. So there we have a sales workflow rule. So we can do a lot of such things like email alerts, in-app notifications, field updates separately. So with the help of workflow rules, you can even trigger a webhook to a different server or a different system. You can perform custom functions, scripts, customized scripts to perform calculations within sales and purchase function, modules and so on. You can do schedulers and workflow logs. So to know more about this, you can just let us know, because it's actually a pretty deep and in-depth feature. If you start talking, as I mentioned earlier, the possibilities are endless. So these are different templates which you can change, say be it an invoice notification, delivery notification, or sales order notification, or anything like that. So reporting tags can be used just like in Zoho Books. So you can have multiple reporting tags, and you can associate that to transactions. Web tabs is an interesting feature. You can have different web tabs put up in your system onto the left of your screen. So if I go back to my system, if I want to access a quick web tab, I can just go to my envia.com. So envia.com is one of our Latin American shipping integration partners. So what, I don't have to go back and forth from my customers module to my different website. It's available right inside my system. I can even access Zoho Books directly from Zoho Inventory if I have my Zoho Books account over here. So it's just a tab inside your system. There it goes. All right. So coming to the reports, we have a lot of different reports, including inventory aging summary when it comes to inventory specific reports, and then sales by category, sales return history, packing history, landed cost summary, warehouse reports, and inventory valuation summary, FIFO cost load tracking, product sales reports, and much more. So, we have refund history. So it's actually, so one of the most impressive one being the batch details report. It'll help you to see what are the items available as per the different batches and what is the expiry. It'll help you to sort it out with the help of the expiry details and so on. So I believe due to the lack of time, I would ask you to definitely explore these different reports that we have. And if you have any questions regarding it, please feel free to let us know. Let me know in my email, and I will definitely take it forward from there. So rest of the reports is pretty much similar to what Zoho Books have, while if not for the inventory specific reports over here. And all these reports can be synced to Zoho Analytics to create much more complicated reports if you want, like drilled in reports with these data available over there. So
Thank you.
would like to conclude.
Thank you so much, Salman. I just wanted to mention one thing about reports that we were talking about yesterday that I admit, which is using reporting tags. And reporting tags can be a way to help categorize different groups of items, right? You can create maybe lines of business. There's a lot of different use cases for reporting tags. And the same is also here in inventory, right?
Yeah, it's there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I know there was a lot of questions, unfortunately, we weren't able to get to. We will share all of the questions with Salman, but please do use his email address. I'll post it again. It's salman.n@zohocorp.com. Again, Salman is always a really great resource on individual one-on-one calls, super helpful. So thank you so much, Salman, for being here. So right now we do have time for a 10-minute break. I know that's probably a little shorter than everybody would like, but we have another really great session on expense right after. So let's take about 10 minutes, give or take, and we'll meet back here to go into Zoho Expense.
And it's just a question basically saying, are you excited to see Zoho Expense 2.0? And I didn't put no in there because I didn't want to be sad.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for launching that. I will give the floor to Ramesh. Thank you, Ramesh.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So, yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Ramesh from Zoho Expense team. So today we'll be looking at the Zoho Expense 2.0 version, which will be the the upcoming version that we're going to release soon. So before we get into the application, I just wanted to start this particular session by talking about the the challenges that you face in travel and expense management. So this will be the agenda mainly. So we'll first look at why travel and expense management, and then the challenges that you face in managing travel and expense management, and then our proposed solution, that is Zoho Expense for this. So first up, why travel and expense management? So according to a recent survey, almost most of the organizations spend around 10 to 12% of their annual budget on expense management, which makes it really important to definitely focus on travel and expense management. Streamlining the process is something which is really important. So that's about it. And some of the the current scenario of expense reporting is this. Most of the organizations who don't use an online application majorly use one of these three options: spreadsheets or forms or mails. They use spreadsheets to basically fill out the data, the expense data, and then use forms to submit them via emails. And then the approvals also happen via emails, which makes it a lot more cumbersome, with this manual process. And because of this process, there will be a lot of organizational challenges. So there will be a lot of frauds happening within the organization. The collection of all these expense reports will be difficult, and filing up of all the bills will be there. Let's say if you're doing a monthly reconciliation of your expenses, you would have all the list of receipts on your table before you complete the cycle, and there will be a lot of man hours wasted on submitting these expenses, definitely. And then there will be a lot of manual errors as well when the users try to submit it. So in cases where, let's say, a user might use a different rate for mileage or per diem, and that makes it a lot more cumbersome in completing the process. And there will be a lot of challenges as well if you're a business traveler. So first one is the travel processing. So initially, when you request for the travel from your company, processing that would be again done through emails or spreadsheets. Makes it difficult. And there'll be loss of receipts, definitely, yes. So if you've been using, if you've been submitting your expenses manually, you definitely know this. So, a lot of us have this habit of, crushing out our receipts once the expense is done and then throwing it away. And that definitely makes it, that definitely keeps us from, getting the expense reimbursed. So that's another thing. And manual calculation of per diem and mileage. Again, if you're an end user and you do not know what the rates apply for yourself or for your designation, it becomes difficult to calculate all these rates going back and forth. And waiting for the status. So let's say you complete all the process, submit it. You won't know when this would get approved or when you would get the reimbursement. The status update is something which would be difficult again. And compiling all the expenses together in a single expense report, you'd have to manually add all the details in an Excel sheet, or adding them manually and then submitting them. And yeah, delay in reimbursement as well, like we said. So there won't be any status updates. So obviously a delay in the reimbursement is expected. And yeah, there will be a lot of challenges for the manager and the finance team as well. So especially if you're someone who manages all these expenses which are submitted to you, it becomes a lot more difficult when compared to an end user. So, policy violation is one of the key things. So, you wouldn't know if a particular expense has violated a particular policy or not. And keeping track of those policy violations, again, makes it difficult. And there will be delay in expense approval as well, since you would have to go through a lot of information. So you'd have hard copies of the bills with you, and you would also have the spreadsheets of data, the expense data. You would have to match, literally match, each expense information on the spreadsheet with the bill the user has submitted. And yeah, it becomes a lot more difficult to track your corporate card expenses as well, especially if your company uses corporate credit cards, and you're gonna reconcile these expenses on a monthly basis. It's going to be a lot more difficult. And manual reimbursement, lack of company-wide analytics, so you won't be able to run reports and find out what you've spent, what you've focused on spending, in a particular date range. And finally, exporting all this data into an accounting software. It requires a lot of manipulation, from the accountant's end, if you're going to use this manual way. So, as a part of all this, all of this basically comprises into different stages of travel and expense. So, whenever we talk about travel and expense, there would be three different stages of travel. So the pre-trip stage, where, if you're a business traveler, you travel and incur expenses. So you'd have to initially raise a travel request from your company. And once you get it approved, if there is any budget amount or advance amount required for that particular trip, you'd have to collect that from your company. And then once that is done, the on-trip process comes on, wherein you have to capture all your receipts. And if you require any additional advance amounts, then that has to be actually, you have to get that from the company. And post the trip, you would have to compile all these expenses into an expense report, and then submit the report for approval and wait for the reimbursement. So that will basically be the different stages of travel and expense. And our application, Zoho Expense, will be mainly focused on meeting all these three stages of travel and expense, where right from raising a travel request to finally getting your reimbursement, all of these stages can be met using our application. So so without any further delays, I'll just directly jump onto the Zoho Expense 2.0 application. So we'll be looking at the Expense 2.0 version, which is the upcoming version, and we'll be majorly looking at some of the important features that are available. So let me just quickly share my screen. All right, so I hope you're able to see my screen now.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, wonderful. So yeah, so this is how the Zoho Expense application looks like. I mean, the Zoho Expense 2.0 application looks like. So if you're a current user of Zoho Expense, you would know that there's been a lot of changes happening. I mean, which has happened with the new version. So we've gone through a lot of changes with the UI, basically, in terms of making it easier for the end user as well as the admins to manage their expenses. So, once you enter the application, you will see this homepage where it would be possible for you to upload your receipts. You will see shortcuts for adding your expenses, and you will also see a recent summary of the expense reports that you have submitted or got them approved within the application. And with the expense 2.0, we have majorly brought in three different views, for different user roles. So the one that you're looking at right now is called as the My View, wherein you would be able to add your own list of expenses, get them approved. You would be able to do all sorts of operations which are respective to your expenses and reports. And on the other hand, we have also brought in something called as an admin view, where from the admin view, it would be possible for you to, perform admin related operations. Like, let's say you can quickly run a report and find out what, you've spent during a particular period of time. And you would also see the spend summary in the admin dashboard, where you can see what you've spent during a particular year or month, etc. So that can be found out from this particular section. And you would also have the other modules like the trips or reports, the advances, purchase request, etc. So you can at any point of time go through these modules and find out what has been submitted within your organization. And apart from the admin view, we have also introduced a setup view. So if you click on this settings icon over here, so you will be taken to the setup view, where you will be able to access all the configuration related settings under one hood. So earlier we had the settings option available in different modules, but then right now everything has been brought under one hood, so you can access it from here to configure anything that you want. So that's basically the three views that we have. So let me just go back to the My View, and I'll quickly take you through each module that we have. So yeah, so as I was telling you, one of the major enhancements that we have done, with the application is with the trips section, where we have, updated the trips section to handle all stages of trips that we just now spoke about. So it would be possible for you to raise a trip request from within the application for, any of the travel that you're gonna take up. And, from the travel request section, it would be possible for you to add all the details that you want. So once you once you go to add a new trip, this is how it would look like. So you can add the details, like, you can add the trip itineraries over here, the flight or the hotel itineraries or the bus or train or whatever itinerary that's applicable to you for that travel. And we have two different types of travel options available. So one is the domestic travel and the other one is international travel. So based on the travel type that you select here, the details will be automatically updated. I mean, the fields will be automatically updated for your trip request. So if you can see here, once I chose the travel type as international, the fields were automatically updated. Certain fields were made non-mandatory. So that's something what would happen. And with the flight itinerary option, earlier we just had one-way and round trip option available, but then right now we have also introduced the multi-city option, wherein if you're traveling to different locations during a business travel, so it would be possible for you to select or different destinations that you're going to travel during that period. So that's something you would be able to set up here. And we've also provided seat preferences, the time preference, flight preference, the class that you would like to travel, and all these details can be added up when you create your new trip request within the application. And once you create a trip request, you will be able to find the trip request over, it would look something like this once you create it and then submit it for approval. So let me just quickly try to refresh my application. Just a second. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just going to try resharing my screen again. Let me just stop and resume it again. Just a moment.
While he's doing that, I'll go ahead and launch another polling question.
And one of the things about Zoho Expense I just want to mention that's most useful, especially when I utilize it, and most of the business owners I talk to, is the mobile app. So the mobile app is a huge component of Zoho Expense, and it's something that you really want to explore and make sure that you know your way around it. It's probably the place that you will use most of your time in Zoho Expense.
Yeah, very easy functions to kind of just on the go add expenses and scan receipts and just plug them right in.
Just a reminder, folks, if you can put your questions in the questions area for sure, that we can kind of track and answer questions there as best we can as we're going along. There was a question put in the chat area here that this says this can be expenses for the company pays directly. Well, actually, it's for reimbursed expenses of any kind. Okay, so it's not really accounts payable. This is for any place where you've got somebody that paid for something, either with their check or cash or credit card or something, and then you've got to bring it into your system and document and reimburse that person, or just track it if they've got like a corporate card. Accounts payable is where you actually get bills and set them up to be paid through payables. This is for accounting of a payment after the fact and trying to record that back into the system. So that's kind of how you want to think of this.
For smaller businesses, I've also seen, there can be individual users. It may not be a very large business, and they don't necessarily have to be reimbursable.
Right.
It can be like a corporate card, for example, or a credit card, some kind of business credit card. This is a very great use of tracking those payments. And that's really, I think, one of the major benefits of using Expense over just putting them into Zoho Books is that it's just a lot easier to do it through your phone.
Right, but once again, it's tracking something that's been paid, either with a corporate card or something. So with accounts payable, you're setting it up to be paid, and I just want to make sure that you understand the difference there. And just one other comment, and I don't want to really be too opinionated here, but I've used 3 or 4 different expense management systems. I've used Concur, I've used Expensify. We tried another one at one time in my prior business. And Zoho Expense is one of the key reasons why I'm here at Zoho, because I got so enamored with Zoho Expense. We put it through our whole organization. And in my prior job, we had 10 instructors canvassing the country. And we had not only tons of travel expenses, but we had a lot of other reimbursable expenses through partners that this just made everything so much better. And the speed and the cut down on what we were doing originally was we were submitting Excel spreadsheets for reimbursement. And that was a nightmare. It was absolutely a nightmare. So even just getting off that was great. But the one real thing about Zoho Expense we're going to see and talk about as we go along here, on the mobile app, it will parse most all of the data when you take a snapshot picture and upload it. It'll pick off all the data where we ended up typing everything. But the only thing it won't get automatically every time is your account or category.
And I think Ramesh is back. Ramesh, are you there? Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me fine? All right, wonderful. So let me just go back and share my screen here. Right, so I hope my screen is visible now.
Okay. Yes, it is.
All right, wonderful. So one of the things that we were looking at is the trips section, wherein we were looking at one of the trip requests which was submitted, earlier. So what would basically happen is once you add all the itineraries, the trip itineraries in your request and submit it, it would look something like this. So let's say if you have created a multi-city, a trip itinerary, so it it would look something like this, where you can see the flight and the hotel itinerary, in your trip request, as a part of your trip request. So once it's submitted, the app approver or the admin user will then be able to approve the request, and then you can then make your bookings accordingly. So that is something which can be done using the trip request module. And yeah, so like Val was mentioning, from the homepage, it would be possible for you to upload your receipts into the application. So one of the major things about reducing your time in terms of recording your expense is to automatically scan the receipts that you upload within the application. So for that we do have the OCR capability, which is the auto scan feature. So once you upload your receipts from the application, the receipts will be automatically scanned for the major details such as the expense date, merchant name, currency, and the amount. Once these details are fetched out of your receipt, they will be automatically recorded as an expense entry for you. And you can either upload your receipts from the computer or from any cloud service platforms. And like Kala mentioned, we do have mobile applications available in Android and iOS. So it would be possible for you to download, the mobile application from the App Store, and all you need to do is you need to capture the receipts with your camera option, and you can just automatically scan those receipts and then record them as expense entries. So that is something which you would be able to do. And from the expenses section, apart from uploading your receipts within the application, we do have a range of other options for you to record different types of expenses. So if you click on this new expense drop down from here, so you can either upload your receipts for automatic scanning, or it would be possible for you to record mileage or per diem expenses within the application. So let me just take you through these the tabs that we have. So once you go to the add expense screen over here, so you will be able to see that on the left side, you can upload your receipts within the application. And on the right side, you will have the option to add the details of this expense. So you will see all the list of fields which have been enabled for your organization. So you can basically look at look at all the details that you'd like to enter for your expense. And with the mileage and per diem options, the rate would have been already set up by the admin user in your organization. So based on the mileage rate or the per diem, allowance rate set up by the organization, you will be able to record the same. So let's say, for example, I can pick a date, and then you can either record the mileage expense using the distance traveled option, or the the audiometer, so where you can basically enter the start and end reading and then record your mileage expense that way. So let's say, for example, if I've traveled 100 kilometers a day, I can enter it and then get it that way, or 100 miles. So whichever it is, you can enter it from here. And on our mobile applications, we do have the options to record your mileage expenses using the GPS option. So you can just simply enable your GPS on your phone, and you can track the number of miles you've traveled. Or if you're using an iPhone, you can use Apple Maps to track track the distance that you've traveled, and you can directly convert that map into an expense entry. So that's possible with the iPhone option. And with the per diem expense option, you can basically pick a location to which you've traveled based on whatever that's already set up by the admin user. And based on that, it is possible for you to get your per diem allowances from the company. So you can either choose a trip option, where let's say if you've traveled to a particular location, let's say as a part of business trip for 1 week, so you can choose the date range from here, and based on whatever date range that you enter and the time of departure and arrival that you enter, the actual amount will be automatically calculated. So just to give you an example, it would look something like this. Once you put in the actual departure and the arrival time, so you will see the list of expenses being automatically calculated for this particular date range and the time range that you've entered. So and once all those details get automatically populated, for the per diem expenses, you will then be able to add the rest of the information on your expenses. So based on whatever is required for your per diem expenses, you can fill out all the rest of the information from here, and then you can create all these per diem expenses together in bulk for all the 5 days, or for the duration that you've entered here. So that's how it would work. So it would look something like this once the expenses are created. And yeah. So on the other hand, if you travel to that particular location on all days, if it's going to be individual day per diem that you're going to get or calculate, so in those cases you can select the individual days option, and you can see that for every day, the duration will be calculated from 10 to 12, and that's just a 2-hour duration. And for that 2-hour duration, you would get the per diem allowance from the company. And on the other hand, we do have the Bulkhead Expenses section, where it would be possible for you to add multiple expenses in just one single go. So you can quickly add the different expenses that you'd like to add, from this Bulkhead Expenses section by just manually entering all the details that you want. So let me just quickly show you that. Yeah, so let's just come back to this in some time. And in the meanwhile, so if you have cards connected within the application, then you would be able to convert those transactions from your card into expenses from this particular tab. So you can see all the list of transactions that you've actually incurred through your card. So you can either connect your personal or corporate card with the application, and once you connect your card with the application, you can the transactions will get automatically fetched into the application on a daily basis. So you will be able to then convert these transactions into expenses. So you can either match this transaction with an existing receipt, or it would be possible for you to add this as an expense manually by filling out the details on the expense screen. So it would look something similar to what we saw when we added a new expense manually. So that's how this process would work. And basically in the application, once you create the expenses, you would have to submit them for approval. And in terms of submitting these expenses for approval, you would have to add all these expenses into an expense report, and the report would be submitted for approval in turn. So your expense report will look something like this, with all the expenses included into it. And
while we are waiting for that to load up, I'm going to go ahead and launch the third polling question. Well, not the third. It's the third for this part of the webinar. And then we can finish out the expense webinar without any more interruptions. I really do appreciate everyone answering the polling questions. It kind of helps us gauge what your interests are in and where you're coming from. And it really helps us kind of mold our webinars for the future. I'll give this about 15 more seconds, okay? All right, you are good to continue. Appreciate the patience.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Just give me a moment. I'll just.
It looks like it might be a short Wi-Fi issue. Global. It's okay.
Yeah.
Once you get that back up, I just wanted to direct folks to the mobile app. So if you just whip out your iPhone or Android real quick, head on over to your App Store or Play Store and look for Zoho Expense. So Ramesh, real quick, Zoho Expense 2.0 is a beta. When can people start requesting access to the beta?
So we've already started providing access to a few of our customers. So if you require access to your organization,
okay, so how should they just contact support for Zoho Expense to get access?
Yeah, they can either contact support or contact me, and I can.
Ramesh's email is in the chat box, and then the support email, I believe. Let me just double check, but I believe the support email is just support@zohoexpense.com.
Tala, I actually have a polling question that asks if they're interested, and if they answer yes, I can send that entire list to Ramesh, so it's a little easier for him. Let me go ahead and launch that right now while he's figuring everything out. So yes, if you're interested in the Expense 2.0 beta, just click yes. And if not, you can simply answer no.
So one of the features, and I'm just gonna open up my Expense real quick.
Yeah, I was going to check on mine, Tal, and see if I've been switched up to 2.0. I don't believe I've requested it yet, but I'm going to. So really excited about this. And I think we're right on the cusp of a release for general public. Ramesh, are we talking late January for everybody, or do you have a date yet? I guess he might be reconnecting. I might be speaking out of school there, folks. But I had heard actually kind of late January is to have it released to the general public. So I'll go ahead and answer that one as late January, and then hopefully I won't get in too much trouble here with that.
Val Seed said it was late January.
Yeah, I'm speaking for when we first saw the demo a month or so ago on 2.0 and what they were up to, where they were at, even then it looked really strong and good. So I highly suggest you if you want to, get in on the beta now to try it, because it's not like it's a rough beta.
And Ramesh, just let me know once you are ready and I'll transfer session control back to you. I just wanted to showcase a couple of things. This isn't how Expense currently looks, right? It's a little bit different than what Ramesh was looking at. So one of the things I just wanted to talk about here is basically some of the administrative policy enforcements that are inside of Zoho Expense. So one of the things that you can do is you can set up these different policies for, they can be departments or just groups of people inside of your business. And these can apply specifically to them. So they can be individual expense amounts, receipt required limits. And on the following page, you'll see that you can actually apply these to only certain categories inside of your different expense categories. So whether this is specifically only for meals and entertainment, that you can't have a meal over, let's say, $100 at one instance, or a per diem of $150, for example. So you can set these up, including mileage and per diem, as I mentioned. And then once you have users added to this, you can then apply policies to them that allow them to reflect the kind of specific settings you have. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention for folks in terms of how to manage that. Ramesh, are you ready for control back? I guess he may be having some internet issues. So once he's back, we'll hopefully bring that up. Another function inside of Zoho Expense that I find is extremely important is the ability to set up approval processes. So this is kind of the crux of Zoho Expense. Reports really are the vehicle that expenses move. So if you think about expenses in Zoho Books, you're actually thinking about individual expenses that you create, right? So if you have, let's say, a phone bill, you add that phone bill, and then that gets logged. In Zoho Expense, that's not the case. What happens is that you have individual expenses that get created, and this looks identical to how it is inside of Zoho Books. You'll find that you can even associate this expense to customers. If you have a CRM integration, which we'll talk about tomorrow, you can associate this with those customers. But most importantly, after expenses are created, you want to associate them to reports. So whether that's an existing one here or a new report. once you have your collection of expenses in a report, and it's really up to you how you want those reports to be grouped together. So in my case, I typically just do expense reports based on the month in which those, or the cycle, I should say, not the month, but the billing cycle for my credit card. And so I'll put in all these different expenses and then I can submit them. Now, the actual submission of reports is something that you can set up a hierarchy for. So if I go into my users, I can actually take a look and see who this person submits to. So when I add a user, I can actually edit that for them. So let's take a look at this user, and I can say that they submit to, Jack, and I can add additional criteria. So only if the amount exceeds a certain amount, then it goes to Jack. Otherwise, it goes to Barbara, for example. And so you can add these kind of additional criteria, and you can really create a hierarchy of where these expense reports go to. So this is something that's really important. It's a really important function inside of Zoho Expense, but is really maintaining kind of the report approval structure. And then once you have reports, let's say you are an approver, those reports are coming to you. You can do this from your phone as well, but you can actually see the kind of description. You can comment on individual aspects of this expense report. So I can say, why was this purchased? Purchased, need additional info. If you were auditing Starbucks purchases, it would be a very tough manager to report to, but this is something you could definitely do. And the best part about this, again, is you can do this on individual expenses, individual reports, and they can simply comment in line. And it makes this much easier to track exactly what these issues are. They can recall this report. So in this case, it's my report, so I can actually recall this, make changes, add additional receipts that I might need to, and then resubmit it. And then if you have certain policies, once they're actually creating a report, it'll tell you what policy violations might exist for this particular expense report. So before they even submit it, you can actually catch those beforehand. So that's a really important part of Zoho Expense. So I know one of the main things that folks were asking is, hey, I probably don't do a lot of travel, especially now with COVID right now. What's the point of using Zoho Expense? Well, the point is that you can do unlimited receipt scanning. It's really as simple as that. Zoho Expense has unlimited receipt scanning. It's also free for the first 3 users. So if you're a small business, if you just want to try it out, there's really no reason not to try it. And one of the most important things is that once you start using the mobile app, the excuse of putting receipts either in a wallet, in a box, in a folder, wherever they may go, really starts to go away. Now, Zoho Books does have the function to take a picture of receipts, but it doesn't do receipt scanning in the same way that Zoho Expense does. And as I mentioned in Zoho Expense, it's unlimited. So take a picture of all those receipts. Those will scan pretty quickly. And as Val was mentioning, it pulls out a certain amount of information. So from a receipt, it will pull out the date, the category only if you've gone to that merchant before. So it'll pull out the vendor information and the amount. We are currently working on getting Expense to actually be able to pull out individual line items. So if you need to itemize your receipt, you can actually do this. Zoho Expenses scanning is being developed to actually pick up on these line items. But as of right now, if you need to apply different categories, you can certainly do that. For folks in Canada, there is a slightly different function where you can actually pull out the taxes, because I know in Canada you can, I think, claim those taxes back at the end of the year. So that might be a little bit different than what you see here in this particular view. So that is just a couple things I wanted to mention. It looks like we may have a Wi-Fi or an internet issue that unfortunately Ramesh had to jump out on. But that is kind of the main functions I wanted to talk about. We do have a couple more minutes before we jump into Zoho subscription. So I just wanted to see if there are any questions I can help answer in the Q&A. Let me take a look at these.
Tala, I was just trying to get my expense up quick, just to see if we could show some stuff. But did you mention authorization and approval and the process there? And it's really quite easy, folks, to set up authorization layers, multiple people to authorize reports or not. You could have it so that you're a sole proprietor. You just record expenses and put them in the system.
Yeah, exactly. When you add users, that's where you're going to want to set up those authorization layers. Excuse me, when you add users. And another thing that I think is helpful for some of the smaller businesses, and I'll answer the question on the screen after, is if you are a sole proprietor, or you have just a few employees, you can actually use Zoho Expense as a way to kind of organize all of your expenses, and then your bookkeeper may find that it's a lot easier and cleaner for them to come into Zoho Expense and they be the approver, so they can clean up the categories that your expenses are going to, make sure they're all in the right place, and then once they hit approve, this is a really important part. Once the expense report is approved, that's when the individual expenses get moved over into Zoho Books. So that's where the integration gets turned on. And that's actually something that I can point out to you where the integrations page is in Zoho Expense. So very important thing, once a report is approved, that's when individual expenses come over into Books. So question from Vincent, can you discuss expense reimbursement? So absolutely, expense reimbursement inside Zoho Expense is of course, the ability to pay back your employees. So once I have approved this, if there are individual transactions that are reimbursable, they will be labeled as such. So let's say I have a new expense I'm creating. So there is a checkbox here, so you can claim reimbursement. If this is a corporate card, then it defaults to unchecked. If it's like a personal card that's added by the employee, they can claim reimbursement. Once you approve a report, you can either cut a check to the employee, or you can use the integration that we have for Forte. So if I come down in here into online reimbursements, Forte is the payment gateway that we use. This is also the same payment gateway in Zoho Books that we use for ACH payments to vendors. It's also a payment gateway that you can use to receive payments from customers. So this is the integration to electronically pay your employees. Now, in the future, some of the integrations we're working on, one is, of course, with Zoho Payroll. So that would be actually being able to reimburse an employee on their paycheck. That is something that's in development. Of course, Zoho Payroll is not everywhere right now. It's only in California, Texas, and New York. So as we expand that, that is going to be something you'll see coming into Zoho Expense. And as of right now, there isn't an integration here with Zoho People, which is our HR application to at least import all of your employees from Zoho People into Zoho Expense, so you don't have to re-add them. Kind of something to take a look at there. And then if we take a look at accounting systems, you'll notice we actually have integrations with a lot more than just Zoho Books. We have, of course, Zoho Books, which I mentioned, synchronizes categories, expenses, reimbursements, all of this in the same chart of accounts. We also have an integration with QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. So if you have a system where you're still using QBO or QuickBooks Desktop, this is actually another way to actually start utilizing Zoho Expense. We also have a Xero integration, and then some ERPs like Dynamics, Oracle, and SAP. So definitely take a look at some of those. One of the most interesting or more useful integrations we're going to talk about tomorrow is with Zoho CRM. So this is if you have a salesperson who might be out in the field, they're recording expenses like mileage for a particular customer, and you want to associate these with a deal, whether you're going to win that deal or you may lose it. You can actually categorize expenses that way through this integration. So I know, unfortunately, Ramesh just messaged me. I think his Wi-Fi cut out where he's at home. So we weren't able to hear from Ramesh to finish that out. But we are going to move on to our subscriptions webinar. And I'll see if there's any other questions that can come up. Is there a section for personal finances? Rhonda asked. So I have seen folks do that in Zoho Expense. There is not a particular section for doing it. If you are a very small business, this is something you could potentially do with reporting tags and kind of categorizing personal away from your business. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you are a business that's larger than a sole proprietorship.
Tom was asking about the beta 2.0 doesn't appear to be working. Tom, I'm not sure what part of the country you're in. I'm having trouble getting to Zoho Expense right now. Nathan is not. Doesn't appear Tala is either. I don't know if we've got a server down or something. I don't know if they can back out and put you back on the regular version, but it could be because we've got something cross-wired right now. So might want to try that again a little bit later. I don't really. I've never
I'm
seen
checking the status right now, and it looks like the status is fine. There might be a latency issue, but hopefully we can get that resolved. The Expense 2.0 beta is reversible right now. So you can absolutely try it, and you can say, you know, I just want to go back to the regular expense for now. Maybe there's some things that you want to see changed. So give your feedback, and then you can actually reverse it if you would like.
Is that in the help area, Tyler? The reverse?
No,
I don't have mine
right now you have to do it both ways through support. So you'll need to ask support.
Okay.
Right. So just contact support. They'll be able to get you into Expense 2.0. We actually launched 2.0 for the mobile app almost at the beginning of this year, or might have been last year actually. So those are some really huge changes to the mobile application on iOS. I'm not sure how soon after Android followed, but this is kind of the desktop following into it. All right, so without further ado, we're going to finish out our last 30 minutes on Zoho subscriptions. This is by far one of my favorite applications in the Zoho suite. I think it is so underutilized, and really it's just a really fun way to come up with a new way to manage your business in terms of recurring invoices. So why choose a subscription model? I know there's a number of businesses where this makes sense right away, right? We can think of a lot of those, like how many folks here have a subscription to Netflix? How many folks are paying for Spotify, right? Or YouTube Premium, for example. Those are all subscription models in the traditional sense, but there are also other subscriptions that can really easily be applied to a lot of businesses. For example, and you may know about this, Val, is a lot of accountants are moving to this kind of value pricing model where they say like, hey, for X amount of money, I'll provide Y amount of services, and we'll just do it at a flat rate. So that way we don't have to worry about hourly billing, and it kind of takes away from some of the management side of things.
Correct. It takes away a lot of hassle. People spending a lot of time detailed tracking hours, billing hours, versus doing that, you're billing on a value or essentially a job projected amount.
And I'll give you, a quick story. Like I think about this quite a bit for service-based businesses. And so one of our executives who is based out of our Austin office, Raju, if you've ever attended a past webinar, or a past Zoholics event, you've probably heard him speak. He told me, he kind of lives a little bit on the outskirts of Austin. And so he has a septic system at his house. And so there's a guy that has to come out like twice a year, I think, to clean out the septic. I think he comes once a year to kind of flush it and once to empty it. And he was getting to talking to him, and he's like, hey, why don't you just charge me for the year? So for the 2 times you're going to come out, and just schedule it yourself and just show up. So I don't have to call you, and we don't have to keep track of this. And he actually got him set up on Zoho subscriptions of all things. And so now there's a guy out in Austin who services these septic systems, and he's a subscription business. So not in the traditional sense of a SaaS model, but of the service that he's providing can still be on a subscription basis. So what are some of the benefits? One is it creates a predictable revenue stream, right? This means that you can actually plan for certain expenditures without the typical fluctuations that seasons bring for certain types of businesses. So for example, a landscaping company may know that, and it depends what part of the country you're in. Let's say you're a landscaping company in the Northeast where it snows. You may have a really solid business from March until October, but in the winter months that's going to die out. And so if you could potentially have a subscription model where you bill your clients on a regular basis, and so instead in the winter you're going to provide snow shoveling services, that's something that you don't actually have to worry about how many customers are going to contact you to do that. They're simply, or how many are going to cancel their other service. They're simply going to have that rolled over, and a subscription model makes that really easy and automated. Some of the other kind of specific metrics of a subscription model include lifetime value. So this actually allows you to place a number on the value of a customer that you receive. So if I receive a customer on a subscription model, after a certain amount of time, I can then predict how much this customer on average will generate for my company. You can then also upsell and cross-sell to customers. So you have kind of a real solid base of customers. And you can cut back on advertising because you know that you don't need to reach out to those same customers again because you've got them locked in. Or you can cross-sell or upsell to them more specifically. So I always go on this tangent on subscription businesses. And I'm sorry if you've heard this in the past. I just think it's such a great example, which is how many folks out there are Costco members? Right? And you can tell me in the chat, is there a Costco near where you live? I recently, just this year, when I moved to my new place, there's a Costco like a mile down the road. So I finally signed up. And you will be so surprised when you look at Costco's business model that they make almost all of their profits on subscriptions. They're not a retailer, they're a subscription company. And this gives them a predictable revenue stream. So they're not subjected to the ebbs and flows of seasonal variations as much as a company that only makes money when a customer walks in. And then they also have a completely different model, right? They sell hot dogs at a loss and rotisserie chicken at a loss because they recoup that in terms of membership money, but they know that that's actually a benefit for their customers. So I could go on a whole tangent about Costco, but just do a quick Google search on Costco's finances and see how well they're doing. They have a 91% renewal rate, which is extremely high. It really just places a business in a much more predictable revenue stream. And almost any business can set up some sort of subscription model. I mean, I really wonder why haircutting places don't have subscriptions. Obviously, in the pandemic, this is something that would be difficult to implement. But in any other time, a hair salon would be a great place to implement a subscription model. Car washes are starting to have subscription models, right? Have you seen those car washes where you get unlimited washes for like $30 a month? They know you're probably only going to come twice a month anyway.
Yeah.
You're there you go. You have been sucked in. So that's my tangent on there. So what are some of the major market segments?
Hey, Todd, before you continue,
Absolutely.
I'm just going to launch a poll question. And and one thing Todd he's mentioning sort of is this, by doing a subscription, it can also save you time just because you don't have to constantly be reaching out to your client or your customer. And just simply you have them on a monthly subscription or yearly subscription, and you don't even have to necessarily think, hey, did I email them? Where are we at in getting paid? You can easily just look it up in Zoho subscription and see where you're at. So you don't have to waste time doing that on the back end. You can just focus on if you're billable, doing the work for them, or if you're a service, or you need to provide them a service, just go out there and do it.
Mentioning in the chat, he runs a nonprofit that uses memberships for their clients. They have different types of memberships with different services. That's a fantastic implementation of a subscription business, and Zoho subscriptions can help with that. So we're going to jump into the product to take a look at that. So I think that poll question is over. Looking at some of those major market segments.
Yeah.
So of course, software as a service like Zoho, memberships such as the ones we just mentioned. Even box businesses, there are an increasing number of kind of inventory related companies like Dollar Shave Club. I have a beard, so I don't subscribe to them, but I know, there's plenty of folks that shave out there, and that's a fantastic business model. There's even inside of your Amazon account, you may have noticed this, you can subscribe to like various products, right? So like you can subscribe to like the deodorant being delivered every 2 months or whatever, the 3-pack that you need. But increasingly, I think the area that businesses should really start to think of are those that fall under consulting and other services. So not just IT consulting, but any kind of service-based business. Take a look at your model, see where you can improve efficiency for your customers, decrease what we call friction, right? The difficulty it is for a customer to have a sale. And that way you can kind of increase these long-term revenues that you can bring in. So let's take.
Yeah, and one thing to add, sorry to interrupt again. One thing to add, whenever you're trying to do a subscription for a service, make sure you have a in scope and out of scope on that subscription. Just so if you're doing accounting and all you're supposed to be doing is just balance sheet and P&L reviews, and then all of a sudden your client comes to you with a new credit card that they haven't put into their accounting software, that's considered out of scope. So make sure they understand the difference in that so that you can bill them appropriately later on.
No,
so there's no confusion.
So let's take a look at some of the different functions you can do. So one is, of course, you're automating your billing process. So this is a little bit different than we talk about in invoice that repeats itself. So Zoho Books, we looked at yesterday, does have recurring invoices. And what's a recurring invoice and how's that different? So recurring invoice is basically a one-time specific transaction for a customer that you just set up on a schedule and it repeats itself. What's different about billing for a subscription is that you've set up some sort of identical product or service, and that's something that the customer chooses on their own. So Zoho subscriptions gives them a way to sign up for that. So you can set up different types of frequencies and cycles, and then you can also automatically prorate the billing, whether they sign up in the middle of a cycle, if there's some sort of trial period, you can actually set those up as well. And then, of course, the most important and useful part is securely storing customer credit card information. So the different payment gateways that Zoho Subscriptions has, it's a subsect of those that are already in Zoho Books, but it's the ones that allow for recurring billing. All of them use secure methods of storing the customer credit card data. All of the forms are PCI compliant, so you don't actually have to worry about that security there. So once you actually have that information, you need to be able to process them. So a subscription software allows you to automatically renew and process those payments. And if there's multiple currencies, you can absolutely do that. But the most important part is if there is any kind of issue with the payment being able to be processed, there's some sort of dunning process. So there's going to be a way that it actually checks itself. Maybe it sends the customer an email, lets them know that, hey, they need to update their expiration before it expires, right? That's the number one way that payments fail is credit cards expire, customers haven't updated them. So actually being able to recognize that ahead of time, a month ahead of time, reaching out to the customer, getting them to update that is really important. And then finally, actually managing the different subscriptions you have. So we're going to jump into the product to actually see how you create plans, create add-ons to those plans, offer coupons, and then actually have customers utilize the client portal themselves. So what are some of the different payment gateways? These include Stripe, PayPal, 2Checkout, Authorize.net. This isn't all of them. There's actually more than just these, but you can kind of get a sense of these. They, of course, have their own rates. So these are ones to kind of take a look at. Really quickly looking at the subscription lifecycle. So actually having a sign-up page that's actually driven by the customer. So this is something you'll put on your website. This is something that they'll go to. You can also manually create a subscription. So if that is something that's going to be more bespoke to your company. So let's say you don't actually have a subscription that lets them choose their own, from some sort of menu of options they have. You can create a custom subscription and then just set that up for auto renewal. And then there's options to upgrade and downgrade, whether a downgrade occurs immediately or it happens at the end of the billing cycle. These are all things that you need to consider. And then the ability to pause and cancel subscriptions is also included in the product. So let's take a quick look at a sample of how a customer would actually move through this cycle before we jump in. So here's kind of a sample company called Zilker Online Courses. They have some sort of online classroom. So the customer will visit the website. Once they visit the website and they see the course, they can choose from various different plans. So these are the ones that you're going to actually show them on the website. Now, once they choose a particular plan, there is a payment form that's generated by Zoho Subscriptions that's going to be present on your website. And it allows them to actually fill out this information and go ahead and enroll themselves. Now, once they actually make the payment and enroll themselves, they can get access to the service through the backend. So there could be some sort of API. So Zoho Subscriptions allows you to do this if you need to automate it. So if you need to actually send this information to another system, and if it is, let's say, a order management system like Zoho Inventory, that can be done. If it is a system like let's say you have a custom application, there are other software applications out there, and you need to notify it to create an account, you can use an API to notify that in your system and actually do that. So this is kind of the initial portion, and of course you can manually do it as well. So there can be some other options. So the customer has the ability to log into a portal and request a cancellation. and they can also request a refund. So these are some of the different options that are available inside of this. So if you want to take a look at this sample site, you can actually visit this page to kind of take a look at how that works. But we're actually going to jump into the product, and I want to show you some of these advanced options when we do that. So one is custom domain mapping. This makes sure that the domains for the portal, any of the pages that are generated by Zoho subscriptions don't say Zoho on them, right? They have your website URL. Also making sure that you have some sort of integration with other third-party applications, whether those are accounting systems, whether those are within Zoho or outside of Zoho. And then, as I mentioned, if you are a developer, being able to utilize our RESTful APIs to activate services and other systems. So let's go ahead and jump into the product. So of course, we're just going to start off with the dashboard, give you a basic sense of what you'll see when you log in. So there are some really important kind of metrics that subscription management systems have that an accounting system doesn't have. So of course, the first thing you're going to see is activations versus cancellations. So thankfully, we're no cancellations in this company, and we have a few activations going on this week. But what are some of the different metrics that you're looking at? So one is, of course, net revenue. That's really basic. But what's specific to a subscription business is monthly recurring revenue. So this is a different metric that you're able to actually predict that on average, we have a monthly recurring revenue of, in this case, $567. So this is something that we can expect every month to come in based on the current subscriptions that we have. You can also dedicate an average revenue per user. So you can see we have 10 customers. They average about $56 per user. And then the lifetime value of each of these is $5,678. So that is some really important metrics right off the bat. Now, of course, you can kind of take a look here. There is one particular metric that's really important to subscription businesses, and that is the churn rate. So this is the rate of cancellations versus activations that we have, or active customers. So keeping this churn rate usually below, it's going to be in the low single digits is the ideal scenario. This is something that allows you to actually see issues that might be coming up before that, there's some kind of exodus of your customers. You can see if there's some kind of issue with the product or service that you have. It's a good metric to keep an eye on, especially if you have a lot of customers. Let's actually go ahead and set up a product, and I'll give you an example of how this works. So let's come up with some sort of product that we are going to sell in a subscription. So why don't we sell let's use kind of this is a wine selling account. So we'll call this some sort of holiday wine box. And the holiday wine box basically has an assortment of top wines chosen by wine people. And I don't know what you would call a wine connoisseur, but I'm just going to put that there. There could be some sort of notification email address that you need to send this to. So whether this is an email address that you want to notify inside of your business, so whether this is a particular person that's going to activate this, or it's some sort of account that's going to receive these activations, you can set that up here. And then you can also set up a redirect URL. So whether this is a thank you page, maybe you want to show other products or services that your business has, maybe you want a customer to view something in particular, you can actually list those there as well. So we've created the product, but we don't have any plans yet. So let's go ahead and add a plan to our holiday wine box. So the very first plan, we'll call this the millennial plan, millennial wine box. And we'll say this is plan 401. That's a plan code that we're going to give it. So we can call a unit name. So it's going to be per unit or box. Call this box if you want to. And so what's the price for this particular plan? So because millennials aren't always doing that great, we'll say this is kind of the discount plan, and we're going to send them a bunch of box wines in their wine box for $29 a month. This will be a really cheap plan. And now you have the option to auto-renew this until canceled. So is this in perpetuity, or is this only for a specific period? So let's say we called it the holiday wine box, but let's say we kind of change this up as the seasonal wine box, and we're just going to keep this going. We can give them some free trial days before we actually start billing them. In this case, we're not going to do that. I can also charge some sort of setup fee, right? Also not the case for this particular product, but this may be relevant for your organization. And whether this is taxable or non-taxable. This is taxable, and we do have inventory that we're going to track with this. So in this case, we're going to do an opening stock. We have 100 of these wine boxes. The rate per unit of these is going to go for, let's say it costs us 19, and I can put a description if I need to. So let me go ahead and hit save on that. And so now we've created the first plan inside of this holiday wine box. Now, a subscription isn't very good with just one plan. So we can actually go ahead and add on some additional plans. So we already had the millennial wine box. We'll call this the Gen X wine box. I'm kind of pitting the generations against each other here. And we'll say they can definitely afford a nicer wine box. We'll call this the $89 box. Also auto renews, same sort of thing. I can track inventory. This can be a different assortment if I already have this. Of course, you don't have to track inventory if this is not inventory related. Something similar, let's say our cost here is $59, and we'll hit save. So now we have 2 different plans inside of this product. And then finally, we can add additional plans if we need to, or we can add add-ons. So add-ons are either one-time purchases, or they can also be recurring in their own right. So this kind of allows folks to customize their subscription. So imagine that in this particular example of the seasonal wine box, we have 2 plans, or excuse me, the holiday wine box, we have 2 plans, and we can have some sort of add-on that adds, a assortment of nuts. And this is going to be 501. We'll call this per package. This is something that they can add as a recurring option. So per unit, let's say this is, $9.99, and I can make this available to all plans, or I can only allow certain plan choosers to choose this particular assortment. So I'm going to say all plans. And if there's any additional inventory, we can track this too. So I think you kind of get the idea here with add-ons. So they can either be individual, one-time add-ons. So for example, if we were talking about a service-based business, the businesses that I work with often are accountants. I've seen accountants create some sort of, let's say, monthly kind of bookkeeping package that they can sell. And then they have an add-on for a QuickBooks migration to Zoho Books for a flat fee of, let's say $1,000, $500. That's something that they can make available to their different customers. And then in addition to add-ons, I can also associate coupons. So a coupon can either run for a fixed period of time, or it can be limited to the number of times it's redeemed. So let's say this is, let's say we launched this a little bit earlier, and we call this the Black Friday deal. We'll give this a coupon code, and the discount, either this can be a flat dollar that's taken off, or it can be a percentage of the subscription. So in our case, we'll just do a 10% discount, and we're only going to allow this for the first, 50 redemptions. So it's a limited amount of time. And so I can make this available only to selected plans or to all plans if I want to. And I can also apply this to add-ons or no add-ons. So I'll say this does not apply to add-ons, and it's only valid until the 31st. So there we go. We'll go ahead and hit save. And so now I have a coupon, I have a plan, I have an add-on. Now, the most important part of this is actually taking a look at the hosted page that's created for this particular subscription. So there is this widget that needs to get created. I need to activate that. Let me kind of show you what these look like under my template here for hosted payment pages. So if I come here into a template, I can actually customize a lot of this, the names, the titles, the colors. This is essentially what it looks like. So each of those plans creates one of these widgets with a URL. It's basically an iframe that you can put into your website. And you can build this in with a selection. So if you looked at that Zilker services that we had earlier, or Zilker courses, they were able to actually have a page that showed the different plans. So that's something you could get created. And then when someone hits purchase on that plan, they can show this particular page. So this is exactly what this looks like. You can embed this, make this part of your website. And once that is then created, you can then customize the other information that goes along with it. So there's going to be emails that get sent out, right? So there's a thank you page. This can all be customized. There is a payment update page, right? So this is something that you can send out in an email if you can detect that credit card is going to expire soon. So this is kind of the main functions of Zoho subscriptions. So once you have those created, you're going to want to make sure that all the other preferences are set up associated with your company. So in this case, what does the invoice look like? How is that sent to the customer? Do I group them into one? Do I send them individually? How do I bill? Is it as the subscription is created, or do I have certain billing dates? Right? You might have billing dates based on classes that start at a certain time, whether it's not just an individual subscription. And then we talked a little bit earlier about branding. So actually being able to customize the portal. So if you remember from yesterday, we took a look at the customer portal for a particular customer. And there was actually a tab there for subscriptions. So it's the same exact portal. This is a portal URL that's generated for your business. It's custom to your business. But you can also map your own custom domain here. So you don't have to use the Zoho domain. You can use your own business domain, map it, and then basically just create a subdomain that's going to be like portal.mybusinessdomain.com. So that's basically what you do here. And so again, these are all specific portal settings. What can they do in the portal? Can you actually allow them to cancel their subscription? Can you allow them to cancel it immediately, or is it only at the end of the term? Maybe we only want them to cancel at the end of the term. You can give these options here inside of the page. You'll also notice that there are a number of other really important functions like the retry settings. So this is what we call the dunning process in a subscription business. This is probably the most important part. As I mentioned, if you have some kind of failed payment, how do you actually catch this? And so there, of course, this is kind of after the fact. This is worst case scenario that it actually fails, and you have to go through this process. So you send them an email, retry after a few days. But you'll probably also want to set up email notifications where if a credit card is going to expire, card about to expire, this is a default that's already here. It's going to be sent 15 days before it expires, and you can edit this template. So a really important part of subscription management. That's the thing that I really love about this product, is that it's not overly complicated. It's very specific in what it does. And what happens is that each of those subscriptions, the recurring subscriptions, gets moved over into Zoho Books as an invoice for that billing period. So you don't have to go into subscriptions to actually manage your bookkeeping. You simply would go into Zoho Books. There'll be a reference number on the invoice that links it to a subscription. The customer information will be there, and the payment's already being applied there. You can automate that payment recognition. That's all done on its own. It's really actually a part of your business that all the way from the customer signing up for the subscription to it being recognized as revenue can all be set up to be done automatically. So a really cool function. There's a bunch of other integrations here with other Zoho apps. These are all kind of in a bunch of specific areas, but the two that I want to point out are Zoho Books and Zoho Analytics. We are going to talk about analytics tomorrow. Super powerful product in terms of reporting and other capabilities. I just want to quickly show you the online payment gateways that we have here, because that slide that I showed earlier didn't have all of them. So here are some of them. You'll notice that a couple of these, they mention AutoChart is not available. So really important to make sure you know in that case. So there's also the ability to take e-checks. So you can do a subscription using ACH. That is an option that you have here, and you can see that through Forte or Authorize.net. And then there are some other gateways like WePay, which is kind of our recommended, or Stripe, excuse me, is our recommended gateway along with WePay as well. So you can take a look at both of those. In addition to that, there's some non-Zoho apps you can integrate with for third-party functionality. Take a look at some of these if needed. So with that, I'd like to go back into the presentation to see if there are any additional questions before we finish out for the day.
Yeah, check out the question for just a minute. Sorry, Nathan, you need to do a polling question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll watch the last polling question. You can continue talking, Val. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, I was just jumping in there, Tal, to say there's a few questions out there I think you probably want to look at and just kind of give us a response. And as we're kind of closing up here, folks, we'll try to stay on time as best we can. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, and hopefully this is worth your time. And be sure to fill out the evaluation and let us know what you like, please, what you didn't like, how we can improve. We're really dedicated to doing this type of updates and training on a periodic basis. So we really
thank you so much.
being here.
And I absolutely agree. Thank you everyone for being here. I just want to answer a few questions. So Anne has a question on being able to do ACH with Stripe. No, you can't currently do ACH with Stripe, unfortunately. Can we use Zoho subscriptions with wire transfers and checks, or only credit cards? So you can do it with wire transfers using Authorize.net or Forte. Can we have multiple domains for Zoho subscriptions? No, you can only have one domain for Zoho subscriptions if you are customizing it. You can have multiple different product lines and you can customize those, but of course it's only one particular domain. There's also a question here that Michelle had, and I actually noticed I did this, but I didn't go back. So Michelle was absolutely right. When I was creating the I believe it was a coupon, and there was a field where it was the number of times it applied. The 50 was how long that discount applied for. But at the very bottom was the field that talked about actually being able to limit how many times the coupon is redeemed. So definitely take a look at those a little more closely. Thanks, Michelle, for pointing that out. There's a question here from Brett that's pretty important, which is, would like to find a way to convert my Zoho subscriptions, Zoho Books recurring invoices to subscriptions. Is there an integration for books? So this is a great question. I know this is definitely something that's a little bit scary to do because you have existing subscriptions. You don't want to screw up those billings. You don't necessarily want to disturb the customers and say, hey, I'm messing this up. There is not a way to feed them into Zoho subscriptions. The integration really works the other way, right? It's really much more of a Zoho subscriptions, pushing individual invoices to books, being able to see the recurring invoices. You can also manage them. I would have to try this out on my own, and this is definitely something I want to follow up closer with you, Brett. So if you can email me about this, I would love to kind of do a screen share. We can take a look. We can probably find if there's some kind of way to do a migration. Really good idea on creating a migration guide. I don't know that this is in existence, but I can definitely take this up with the team, and hopefully that's
right. I saw that one, Tal, and I thought that would be a really good candidate for
sure. And then I just want to take a couple last questions. I know we're at the top of the hour. Juan has a question on how can I start to use subscriptions with current clients? Should we send them a link to the page with the options, or is there another way? So with current clients, you can actually just send them directly to the form sign-up page, right? You don't have to necessarily create a page with different options if you already know what option they're going to be on. Otherwise, yeah, you can create the website, put in those hosted pages. The hosted pages are really something that would go in with creating a website. You can absolutely create your own website with Zoho Sites, for example, if you haven't done so, and then have a button that redirects a particular selection to the hosted page, which is a URL from Zoho subscriptions. So that's something to take a look at there. Now we are unfortunately at the end of time. I am going to put my email address again into the chat. Please, if you have questions, go ahead and email me. Earlier, if you had questions for Ramesh or for any of our other guest speakers like Salman, you can absolutely send us emails as well. We're really excited for day 3. Please don't forget to invite your friends, invite colleagues, invite your accountant for the session on Friday. And last but not least, we will send all of the recordings to everyone as of tomorrow. The most important thing, if you need CPE credits, please go to the handout section right now and look at day 2 survey, and please fill that out. You must fill out the survey in order to receive your CPE. Even if you don't need CPE, as we mentioned, please do go ahead and fill that out. We really appreciate it. It really helps make our sessions better in the future. So thank you all so much. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Really excited for tomorrow's session. We're going to start off with Zoho CRM and Zoho Finance integration, followed by a discussion panel on getting the most out of your accountant relationship, and then finally talking about Zoho Analytics. So hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.